My uncle showed up at my apartment on a Tuesday. He had a manila envelope. Thick, sealed. He asked me to hold it for him, just for a few weeks. He said he was clearing out his house and did not want to lose anything important. I said sure. I did not ask what was inside. I did not think to ask. He was my uncle. He had always been the responsible one, the one who kept papers organized, the one who showed up when things needed to be done. I took the envelope. I put it on my desk. He left. I did not think about it again. The envelope sat there for 3 days, right next to my laptop. I walked past it every morning, every night. It was just a brown envelope. Nothing special. Then I got curious. Not suspicious. Curious. The kind of curiosity you get when something is in your space and you do not know what it is. I picked it up. It was heavier than I expected. I turned it over. No writing on the outside. Just the seal. I opened it. The first page had my name on it. Not as a recipient. Not as a witness. As the subject. My full name. Printed at the top of a legal document. I pulled out the next page. My name again. The page after that. My name. Every page had my name somewhere. My uncle had not asked me to hold random documents. He had asked me to hold my own file. A file about me. A file he had been keeping. And he had not told me what it was. He had just handed it over and asked me to hold it. Like I was a storage unit. Like I did not have a right to know what was inside. I sat down at my desk. The envelope was open. The pages were spread out in front of me. My name was everywhere, and I had no idea why. My uncle was always careful with paper. Receipts from 1987. Letters he never sent. Documents in labeled folders. He said his memory was bad. He said writing things down helped. I believed him. He was the organized one in the family. The one who had records when no one else did. When my mother lost her birth certificate, he had a copy. When my grandmother could not find the deed to the house, he had it in a folder. Paul was the keeper. The one who held things so no one else had to. My mother died when I was 19. Cancer. Fast. My father was never in the picture. He left before I was born. I never met him. I did not even know his name until I was 12 and found it on an old form my mother had hidden in a drawer. Paul became the closest thing I had to a parent after she died. He did not raise me. I lived with friends. I worked. I figured things out on my own. But he watched over me. From a distance. He sent money for school when I needed it. He called on birthdays. He asked if I had enough to eat. He never said much. He just showed up when things fell apart. The year I lost my job. The year I got evicted. The year I did not know how to ask for help. He was there. Quiet. Handing me an envelope. Not asking questions. Just being present. I never asked why he stayed single. I never asked where his money came from. I never asked why he kept so many documents. He was just my uncle. The one with the filing cabinets. The one who kept things close. The one who never explained himself. I thought that was just who he was. Private. Reserved. Careful. I did not know that careful meant something else. That careful meant a filing cabinet full of things he did not want me to see. That careful meant an envelope with my name on it that he handed me without a word. That careful meant a secret he had been keeping for years. I was 24 when my mother died. I am 36 now. For 12 years, I thought Paul was just helping me, holding things I could not hold myself. The envelope changed that. The envelope made me wonder what else he had been holding. What else he had decided I did not need to know. What else was in those filing cabinets? He was the keeper. That was what I believed. I did not know that keepers also decide what to keep from you. Not just what to keep for you. The envelope sat on my desk. Open now. Full of pages with my name on them. My uncle had been keeping something for me. Something about me. And he had handed it over like it was nothing. Like he was asking me to hold his mail. I picked up the first page. My name at the top. I started reading. I was not ready for what came next. But I'd already opened the envelope. There was no closing it now. Carol called me once. Years ago. I was in my 20s. She was my father's sister. My father's family stopped speaking to us before I was born. I did not know why. I did not ask. Carol was the only one who ever reached out. She asked if Paul had ever mentioned a man named Dennis. I said no. She said ask him about the documents. Then she hung up. I forgot about the call. Or I buried it. Carol was difficult. Everyone said so. She had a reputation. Angry, bitter, unfair. I assumed she was being dramatic. I assumed she was trying to start trouble. I did not call her back. I did not ask Paul about Dennis. I did not ask about documents. I just moved on. That was 12 years ago. Now I wondered. The envelope was open on my desk. The pages were spread out. I pulled out the documents again. I read them slowly. They were legal. Trusts. Deeds. A letter from a lawyer dated 20 years ago. My name appeared on every page. Not as a beneficiary listed in a will. Not as someone who would inherit something someday. As an owner. Joint owner. With Paul. I read the letter 3 times. I did not understand most of the language. But I understood my name. I understood the word owner. I understood that my uncle had been holding documents that said I owned things I did not know existed. I did not call Paul. I was not ready to talk to him. I did not know what to say. Did you know my name is on these? Why did you not tell me? Why did you give me the envelope? Why now? I had too many questions and not enough information. So I called a lawyer, a friend, someone who did not know the family, someone who could look at the documents without any history getting in the way. I took photos of every page. I sent them to her. She called me back an hour later. She asked if my uncle knew I opened the envelope. I said no. She paused. Then she asked if I wanted her to tell me what the documents meant or if I wanted to ask my uncle first. She said some things you cannot unhear. She said if she told me, I cannot go back to not knowing. I sat in my chair. The phone was against my ear. I looked at the envelope, the open flap, the papers inside, my name on every page. I thought about Carol, about the call 12 years ago, about the man named Dennis, about the documents she told me to ask about. I had ignored her. I had assumed she was being difficult. I had buried the call so deep I forgot it happened. But the documents were real. My name was real. The lawyer was waiting for my answer. Tell me what this means, or ask Paul first. I did not know which was worse. Not knowing, or knowing and having to face him after. I took a breath. I gave my answer. I said, tell me. I needed to know what my uncle had been hiding before I decided what to do about it. The lawyer said, okay. Then she started talking, and my life changed in the next 10 minutes. Not because of anything I did, because of something my uncle had done 20 years ago and never told me about. Something that had my name on it. Something that Carol had tried to warn me about. Something that was sitting on my desk in a manila envelope I was supposed to hold for a few weeks. I listened to the lawyer's voice. The words were hard, legal, but I understood enough. I understood that my uncle had been keeping a secret, a big one, and he had just handed it to me. Maybe on purpose, maybe by accident. I did not know, but I was going to find out. I was going to call Paul. I was going to ask him about Dennis, about the documents, about my name, about why he had been hiding this for 20 years. And I was going to listen, not like I listened to Carol, carefully this time, because the documents were real. My name was real, and the truth was sitting on my desk in a brown envelope I had opened out of curiosity. Curiosity had gotten me this far. Courage would have to get me the rest of the way. I picked up the phone. I found Paul's number. I did not call yet. I needed a minute. I needed to breathe. I needed to prepare myself for whatever came next. The lawyer's words were still in my head. You cannot go back to not knowing. She was right. I cannot go back. The envelope was open. The secret was out. Now I just had to face the man who had kept it. I asked my friend to explain. I said, tell me. I needed to know. She said the documents showed that my mother had owned a piece of land. Not a house. Not a business. Acres of land in a town I had never heard of. A place called Redfield. Population less than 500. My mother had inherited it from her father. My grandfather, a man I never met. He died before I was born. Then she had transferred half to Paul and half to me. When I was 3 years old, I had owned land since I was a toddler. No one had ever told me. Not my mother. Not my uncle. Not anyone. I had been walking around for 33 years with a deed in my name, and I did not even know the town existed. The land was worth money. Not life-changing money. My friend said maybe low 6 figures if I sold it. But real money. Enough to matter. Enough to have helped me when I lost my job. Enough to have paid for school without borrowing. enough to have changed things. Paul had been managing it for 25 years, paying taxes, collecting small amounts of income from timber sales and hunting leases, filing paperwork, everything in my name. He had never mentioned it. Not once. Not when I was struggling. Not when I asked for help. Not when he handed me the envelope. He just kept managing, kept paying, kept filing, kept quiet. I called Paul. My hands were shaking, not from anger, from the strangeness of it. I had owned land my whole life, and I did not know. I asked if there was anything he wanted to tell me about my mother. He said like what? I said like land. He went quiet. I could hear him breathing. The same sound from every phone call we had ever had, but different now. Heavier. He said we should talk in person, not on the phone. I said okay. I asked when. He said tomorrow. I said I would come to him. He said he would come to me. He hung up. I sat in my apartment. The documents were still spread out on my desk. My name on every page. Paul had kept this secret for 25 years. Since I was 3 years old, he had watched me grow up, watched me struggle, watched me figure things out on my own. He had sent money sometimes, envelopes with cash. No explanation. I thought he was just being generous. Now I wondered if he was giving me my own money. Money from the land. Money that was already mine. Money he had been managing without telling me. I did not know. I had so many questions. Why did my mother transfer half to him? Why did she not tell me about the land? Why did Paul keep managing it after she died? Why did he never say anything? Why now? Why the envelope? Why ask me to hold it? Did want to find out? Did he make a mistake? I did not know. I would not know until tomorrow, when he came to my apartment, when I asked him face to face, when I watched his face while he answered. The documents were my proof. The land was real. My name was on the deed. 25 years of silence. And now he was coming talk. I did not know if I was ready, but I had already opened the envelope. I had already asked the question. There was no going back. Tomorrow I would find out why my uncle had been keeping my own life from me. Tomorrow I would ask him about the land, about my mother, about the money, about all of it. And I would listen, not like I listened to Carol, not like I listened to Paul when he said, just hold this for me. I would listen like someone who had been kept in the dark for 33 years and was finally demanding the light. I hung up the phone. The documents were still on my desk. I did not put them away. I wanted to see them when I woke up. I wanted to remember that they were real, that my name was on them, that I owned land in a town I had never seen. Tomorrow Paul would sit on my couch. Tomorrow I would ask him why he kept this secret. Tomorrow I would get answers, or I would not. Either way, I would know more than I knew today. That was something. That was a start. That was the only thing I could control. The rest was up to him. After 25 years of silence, he finally had to speak. I was not going to let him off the phone this time. I was not going to let him say we should talk in person and then show up with nothing to say. He was coming to my apartment. He was sitting on my couch, and he was going to tell me the truth, or that he was going to leave and never come back. Either way, I would have my answer. Either way, the silence would break. I just hoped it broke in a way that did not break me with it. Tomorrow. I would know tomorrow. I looked at the envelope, the open flap, the papers inside, my name on every page. I closed my eyes. I waited for morning. I drove to Paul's house. I thought about canceling. I thought about calling him and just asking over the phone. But I needed to see his face. I needed to watch him answer. He opened the door before I knocked. He had been watching for me. He had coffee ready, 2 mugs on the table. He sat me at his kitchen table, the same table where he had eaten dinner with my mother years ago, the same table where he had probably made the decision to keep the secret. He had not asked how I found out. He asked if I opened the envelope. I said yes. He nodded. He said he was going to tell me. I asked when. He said he did not know. He had been waiting for the right time. For 25 years. I said nothing. I just sat there. 25 years is not waiting. 25 years is hiding. 25 years is deciding every day not to speak. But I did not say that. I wanted to hear what he had to say first. He explained. My mother had inherited the land from her father. My grandfather. She was the only child. The land was supposed to be hers. Then she had me. She transferred half to me when I was 3. She said she wanted me to have something of my own. Then she got sick. The cancer. She asked Paul to manage the land until I was old enough. She did not want me to know too early. She was afraid I would make bad decisions. Sell it for too little. Waste the money. She wanted me to be mature first. She wanted me to be ready. Paul kept his promise. He managed the land. He paid the taxes. He kept the records. He waited for me to be old enough. He was still waiting. I was 36 years old. He had been waiting for 33 years. Since I was 3, he had watched me grow up, watched me struggle, watched me make bad decisions. He never said a word about the land. He just kept waiting. I asked how long he was planning to wait. Until I was 40, 50, until he died and left me to find the documents in probate. He said he did not know. He said he thought about telling me every year. Then he decided to wait one more year. He kept deciding. For 25 years. He said he wanted to protect me. He said my mother asked him to wait. He said he was just keeping his promise. I looked at him. He was not a bad man. He was not cruel. He was just a man who had been given a secret and did not know how to let it go. The secret had become his purpose. Managing the land. Keeping the records. Waiting for the right time. The right time never came. Because the right time was a lie. There is no right time for a secret that should never have been kept. My mother was wrong to ask him to wait. Paul was wrong to agree. The waiting had become its own kind of harm. Not malicious, just slow. The harm of a door that never opens. The harm of a truth that never arrives. The harm of a man who thinks he is protecting you by keeping you in the dark. I sat at his kitchen table. The coffee was getting cold. I did not drink it. I asked about the money. The envelopes he had given me over the years. Cash. No explanation. He said some of it came from the land. Some of it was his own. He did not keep track. He just wanted to help. I asked if he had given me my own money without telling me. He said maybe. He said did not think of it that way. He thought of it as helping. I said helping would have been telling me the truth. Helping would have been sitting me down when I was 25 and explaining that I owned land. Helping would have been trusting me to make my own decisions. He said he was afraid. I said fear is not an excuse for 25 years of silence. He did not argue. He just looked at his hands. The same hands that had filed the paperwork, paid the taxes, kept the records. The same hands that had handed me the envelope. I did not know if he wanted me to find out. I did not know if he made a mistake. I did not know if he finally got tired of waiting and decided to let the secret go. He said he was going to tell me. I said he had 25 years to tell me. He did not answer. I stood up. I did not finish my coffee. I asked if there was anything else he was keeping from me. He said no. I did not believe him. I walked out. He did not follow me. I got in my car. I drove home. The documents were still on my desk. My name was still on every page. The land was still mine. Paul was still my uncle. But something had changed. I did not know what. I just knew that waiting for the right time had cost me 25 years of knowing what was mine. I was not going to wait anymore. I was not going to let anyone else decide when I was ready for the truth. The land was mine. I was going to see it. I was going to decide what to do with it. And Paul could keep waiting if he wanted. I was done waiting. I was done being protected. I was done with secrets. The envelope was open. The truth was out. Now I had to figure out what to do with it. That was my job now. Not his. Mine. I drove home in the silence. The same silence that had filled the kitchen after Paul said he was going to tell me. The silence was different now. It was not the silence of waiting. It was the silence of knowing. And knowing was the only thing that had ever been mine. I just did not know it until I opened the envelope. I asked Paul why he gave me the envelope if he was not ready to tell me. He said he was tired. Tired of carrying the secret. Tired of waiting for the right time. He gave me the envelope because he wanted me to find out. He just could not say the words himself. He had been holding the secret for so long that it had become who he was. So he handed me the envelope. He asked me to hold it, and he waited to see if I would open it. He waited to be relieved of the wait. I asked what else he was keeping. He said nothing. I asked about Dennis. The name Carol had mentioned 12 years ago. Paul's face changed. He said Dennis was my mother's ex-boyfriend, the man she was with before she had me. Dennis wanted to marry her. She said no. He threatened to take me, leave the state, disappear. My mother got a lawyer. The land was part of the protection, a trust, a way to make sure I had something Dennis could not touch. I asked if Dennis was my father. Paul said no. My father was someone else. Someone my mother never named. She would not say who. She took the secret with her when she died. Paul did not know. But Dennis was not him. I asked why no one told me any of this. Why I grew up not knowing about the land or Dennis or any of it. Paul said your mother wanted to protect you. I asked from what? He said from knowing how much you had to be protected from. I sat there. The words landed in my chest. My mother had been afraid. Afraid of Dennis. Afraid that I would live in fear if I knew the truth. So she kept it from me. She asked Paul to keep it from me. She built a wall of silence around me and called it protection. Paul kept the wall standing for 25 years after she died. Not malicious, not cruel, just heavy. But protection that lasts 25 years is not protection anymore. It is control, a cage with good intentions. I did not say goodbye. I walked to the door. Paul said my name. I turned around. He said he was sorry. I said I knew. I left. The truth was finally out. The wall was finally down, and I had to figure out who I was without the silence. I did not know yet, but I was going to find out. I sat at Paul's table for an hour after he finished talking. I did not yell. I did not cry. I just sat. The coffee was long cold. The kitchen was darkening as the sun moved. Paul did not speak. He knew better. He had spent 25 years managing my life from a distance. Now he was going to sit in whatever came next. I appreciated that. Not enough to forgive him, but enough to stay in the chair. Finally, I asked what I should do with the land. He said it was mine. It had always been mine. He was just the caretaker. I asked if he wanted to keep being the caretaker. He said he would do whatever I wanted. He said it like he meant it, like he was finally ready to stop deciding for me. I thought about that, about whether I wanted him to keep managing the land, about whether I wanted to sell it, about whether I wanted to walk away from the whole thing and pretend I never opened the envelope. I did not know the answer, but I knew I was not going to decide anything until I had all the information. I said I wanted to understand what I owned, not just the land, the rest of it, the story, the secrets, the reasons no one told me anything. I asked Paul to tell me everything he knew about my mother, all of it, not the protected version, the real version. The version where she was afraid of a man named Dennis. The version where she had a child with a man she would not name. The version that had been hidden from me for 33 years. I said I was done with silence. I was done with protection. I wanted the truth. Every ugly part of it. He said okay. He stood up. He walked to a cabinet in the corner of the kitchen. A cabinet I had never seen him open. He pulled out a box. A cardboard box. Old. Worn. He put it on the table. He opened it. Inside were more documents. Letters. Photographs. Things I had never seen. He said, "Start here." He pushed the box toward me. I looked inside. My mother's handwriting on an envelope. A photograph of a man I did not recognize. Legal papers with dates from before I was born. Paul sat back down. He did not say anything else. He just waited. The box was in front of me. The truth was in the box. All I had to do was reach in and pull out. I looked at Paul. He looked tired, but he also looked relieved, like he had been holding this box for years, and finally someone had asked to see inside. I reached into the box. I pulled out the first letter, my mother's handwriting. I started reading. Paul sat across from me. He did not speak. He just watched. The sun went down. The kitchen got dark. I kept reading. There was so much I did not know, so much that had been kept from me. The box was full of secrets, and I was finally ready to see all of them. I'm over at where silence ends. Subscribe if any of this sounds familiar. I read for 2 hours. Paul made fresh coffee. He did not interrupt. He answered questions when I asked. He did not defend himself. He did not defend my mother. He just told the truth. The real version. The one I had been asking for my whole life. It was hard to hear. Some of it was painful. Some of it was sad. Some of it was just strange. But it was real. And real was all I had ever wanted. I finished reading. I closed the box. I looked at Paul. I did not know what to say. He said he was sorry again. Not for the secret. For not trusting me sooner. I said I was not sure if I forgave him. He said he understood. I stood up. I took the box with me. He did not ask me to leave it. I walked out. The box was in my hands. The truth was in the box. I drove home. The box sat on the passenger seat. I looked at it. My mother's handwriting on the top envelope. A lifetime of secrets in a cardboard box. I was 36 years old. I was finally holding the truth about where I came from. It was heavy, but it was mine. I drove home in the dark. The same dark I had driven through after every conversation with Paul. But this time the dark felt different. Lighter, because I was not driving away from the truth. I was driving home with it. That was the shift. That was the decision. Not to sell the land. Not to forgive Paul. To stop being protected. To start knowing. The box was on my desk now, next to the envelope. My name was on both. The truth was inside both. I was not going to hide from it anymore. I was not going to wait for the right time. The right time was now. I opened the box again. I started reading. I did not stop until I knew everything. That was my decision. That was my shift. I chose the truth, even when it hurt, especially when it hurt, because the truth was the only thing that had ever been mine, and I was done letting other people decide when I was ready to hold it. I spent the weekend at Paul's house. We went through the box together. Photographs of my mother before I was born. Young, smiling, a person I had never known. Letters she wrote to Paul. Long letters, full of worry and hope and questions she did not have answers to. A diary she kept when she was pregnant with me. Small, blue. The pages were soft from age. Paul let me read everything. He did not try to take anything back. He did not skip pages. He sat in the corner of the kitchen and let me read. I looked at him sometimes. He was not reading. He was watching me, waiting. I did not know what he was waiting for. Forgiveness, maybe, or just for me to finish. The diary was the hardest. My mother wrote about being scared, about not knowing who my father was, about choosing to keep me even though everyone told her not to. Her family, her friends, people who said she was too young and too alone and too scared to raise a child by herself. She wrote about Paul, how he was the only one who did not judge her, how he drove her to appointments, how he held her hand when she cried, how he promised to take care of me if anything happened to her. She wrote that promise down, dated it, signed it. Paul had kept that page folded in his wallet. He showed it to me. The paper was worn soft. He had been carrying it for 33 years. I asked Paul why he never had children of his own. He said he had me. Part-time. That was enough. He said it quietly, like it was the simplest thing in the world, like he had never wanted anything else. I sat there, and I realized that Paul had built his life around me, around keeping a promise, around managing land and paying taxes and filing paperwork, around being ready in case my mother died. And then she did, and he just kept going, kept holding, kept waiting. For 33 years. He did not want children of his own because he already had one. He just never said it out loud. Until now. I asked if he was angry that I opened the envelope. He said he was relieved. He said he'd been carrying the secret so long he forgot what it felt like to put it down. I asked if he was ready to let me carry it now. He looked at me. He said it was always mine. He was just holding it. I believed him. Not because he deserved my trust. Because he'd spent 33 years proving that he would never stop. He was not a perfect man. He made mistakes. He kept secrets. He waited too long. But he never walked away. He never stopped being the person my mother asked him to be. He just did not know how to stop being the only one who knew. Until he gave me the envelope. Until he let me open it. Until he sat in the kitchen and watched me read her diary. That was his apology. Not words. The box. The letters. The truth. Finally, after all these years, the truth. I closed the diary. I put it back in a box. I looked at Paul. I did not say I forgive you. I was not sure I was there yet. I said thank you. He nodded. I said I needed time. He said he would wait. He had been waiting my whole life. A few more months would not matter. I stood up. I took the box. He did not ask me to leave it. I walked out. The box was in my hands. The truth was in the box. My mother's words. Paul's promise. My story. Finally mine. I drove home. The box sat on my desk. The envelope sat next to it. My name was on both. I was 36 years old. I had a mother who chose me when everyone told her not to. An uncle who kept a promise for 33 years. A father I would never know. Land I had never seen. And a life that was finally mine to live. Not protected, not managed, not kept. Mine. I opened the box again. I read the diary one more time. My mother's handwriting. Her fear. Her love. Her choice. She kept me. She kept me even though it was hard. Even though she was alone. Even though she was scared. She kept me. That was the only thing that mattered. The rest was just details. The rest was just secrets. The rest was just time. She kept me. And Paul kept his promise. That was enough. That was everything. I closed the diary. I closed the box. I went to sleep. The truth was on my desk. My name was on the envelope. I was not alone anymore. I never had been. I just did not know it. Now I did. Now I knew. And knowing was the only thing that had ever been mine. I slept. The sun came up. I woke up. The box was still there. My name was still on the envelope. I was still here. That was enough. That was everything. I got up. I made coffee. I sat at my desk. I looked at the box. I did not open it. I did not need to. I knew what was inside. My mother's love. Paul's promise. My story. I smiled. Not because I was happy. Because I was free. The secret was gone. The truth was mine. I was finally living my own life. Not the one that was protected. The one that was real. That was the only life worth living. The true one. And I was finally living it. I did not take over the land immediately. I told Paul to keep managing it. For now. But I asked for reports. Quarterly. Written. He laughed. He said he had been writing reports for 25 years. No one had ever asked to see them. He pulled out a binder. 3 inches thick. Every payment. Every tax return. Every lease. He had been waiting for me to ask. I asked about Carol. Why she called. Why she mentioned Dennis. Paul said Carol wanted to tell me years ago. He asked her not to. He was still waiting for the right time. Carol got angry. She stopped speaking to him. She stopped speaking to me because she could not talk to me without lying. She just stayed away. She waited. I called Carol that night. She answered. I said I knew about the land. I knew about Dennis. Thank you for trying to tell me. She was quiet. Then she said it took me long enough. She was not angry. She was tired. The same tired Paul had been. The same tired I was starting to feel. She asked if I was okay. I said I was getting there. She said she was proud of me. For calling. For asking. For finally wanting to know. I hung up. I sat in my apartment. The box was on my desk. The binder was next to it. I was not alone. I never had been. I just did not know how to ask. Carol had been waiting. Paul had been waiting. My mother had been waiting in the grave. Everyone was waiting for me to be ready for the truth. I thought I was alone, but they were all there, carrying pieces of my story, waiting for me to ask. I was finally asking. That was the only thing that mattered. Not the land, not the money, not Dennis. Asking. Finally asking. I own land now. Officially. The paperwork is in my name. Paul signed everything over last month. He cried. I did not. I hugged him. That was enough. 33 years of waiting and holding and managing and protecting. And it ended with a hug in my kitchen. No speeches. No apologies. Just 2 men who had finally run out of secrets. I visit the land sometimes. It is nothing special. Trees. A creek. An old fence. A town no one has heard of. But it is mine. My mother bought it for me before I could walk. She did it because she was scared. Scared of a man named Dennis. Scared of being alone. Scared of what would happen to me if she died. She died anyway. But the land stayed. The land is the only thing she could give me that no one could take away. Not Dennis. Not time. Not even death. Paul is 70 now. He still manages the property. I pay him. He did not want money. He said he was just keeping his promise. I gave him a check anyway. He cashed it. He called to say thank you. I said thank you back. We did not need to say what for. He knew. I knew. The thank you was for the envelope. For the binder. For the 25 years of reports no one asked to see. For waiting until I was ready. I think about the envelopes sometimes. How it sat on my desk for 3 days. How I almost did not open it. How my whole life would be different if I had just left it sealed. I would still be in the dark. Still wondering why my uncle sent money sometimes. Still confused about the phone call from Carol. Still carrying the weight of not knowing. I'm glad I opened it. Not because of the land. The land is just trees and a creek. Because of what came after. The truth. The diary. The photographs. The uncle who was just holding something until I was ready to take it. He was not controlling me. I used to think he was. I used to think the secret was a cage. But it was not a cage. It was a shelf. He put my story on a shelf and waited for me to be tall enough to reach it. It took me 36 years to grow that tall. But I got there. He was not controlling me. He was waiting for me. There's a difference. It took me a long time to see it. But I see it now. And now that I am tall enough, I am not angry anymore. I'm just glad he did not throw the box away. I am glad he kept the reports. I'm glad he wrote everything down. I'm glad he handed me the envelope, even if he could not say the words, even if he needed me to open it myself. He got it to me. That is what matters. He got it to me. I'm over it where silence ends. What secret has your family kept from you that you only found out about because someone finally got tired of carrying it alone?